Welcome, everybody, back to a very special episode of Reality Court. This is a bonus episode with my very good friend, Richie Skye. After last night's episode of part one of the Real Housewives of Miami reunion, I think we were all left a little, I don't know, confused is the word, or it didn't feel right. There was something about it that felt icky, for lack of a better word. Going into social media this morning, I noticed a lot of what I was feeling was what the audience was feeling. And Richie and I just decided to do this really quick. Just as a background, you know, and I've told you guys before, Richie and I have been friends for a long time. We work together. I credit Richie for helping me really understand that, you know, what's considered, you know, the very openly used word racism is not, you know, necessarily wearing a white hood and attacking people. It's much more than that. And I think that there was a time that I thought I couldn't be racist at all. Of course not, you know. But one time I said to my girls something about Ebony from Real Housewives of New York. Ebony was speaking about a legal matter, and I was so impressed by the way that she expressed something legal so succinctly that I told my girls that she was so articulate. And my girls came to me and told me, that's a microaggression. And I'm like, how can that be a microaggression? I am saying, as a lawyer, I don't have the ability to express that very same thought in such a great way. And from there is where I started saying, boy, I have a lot to learn. And I talked to Richie about it, and he has helped me through the years. And so I'm not coming from a place of I'm perfect. I'm coming from a place of I want to be better and try to understand how people feel as someone who has had the benefit of basically white privilege, because even though I'm Cuban, I present white. And people also need to understand that. Another thing my girls taught me. And I would just go to Richie and say, aren't my girls full of shit? It's wrong, right? I'm not whatever. And he would tell me, no, they're right. So let's start with Richie, because, you know better than anyone. What did you see at this reunion that made you feel like this is off?
So, you know, first of all, I just want to say, hey, thanks for having me on. I actually wasn't going to watch this episode because I'd seen some clips and I just felt like, you know what? I don't feel like being triggered today. And that's kind of the general space that I live in now. I don't want to be triggered by that, so I'm not going to watch it. Although I love the show, I love the franchise. I've loved Miami since season 1. Okay. Yep. So I am that guy. Yeah. But in terms of last night and just kind of echoing some of the sentiments that you just talked about, I think we also always have to have like a bit of, I would say, softness when it comes to listening to people and hearing them and understanding that something that someone says may not necessarily be perceived to them as a microaggression, but it could be perceived by the general population, right? So something that you said could have been like, in your mind, you know, she articulated that so well, could be just because you worked in that field, right?
Right.
And even you yourself might have been like, you know, dang, like I couldn't have said it any better, not even realizing in that context how it might have sounded, right? So I think it's just about being aware of that and being able to have those conversations, because then everybody benefits from it, right?
Agreed.
So I wanted to set that as a baseline for people as we have this conversation, to understand that, you know, for me, it's not that black and white, pun intended, right? Yeah. With regards to what people say or do on these shows that may be offensive to some, right? Because they may not see it when they're filming it or when they're in it. So I just wanted to level set with that. But I also think that for me, what I saw was it really exemplified, I think, the point that Guerdy has been trying to make all season, especially in the press, right? Because they have a big thing about in the press and on social media. And it's like, No, what Guerdy did was what anybody does when they're on a TV show. They talk about the season and what happened to them. They made a point of saying, well, you fanned the flames. Well, actually, no, she talked about her experience. So now she's not supposed to talk about the experience that she had in order to, make Julia feel better for an action that she took, right? And an action that she's seemingly been taking, right? And maybe production saved her at some points, when we saw that clip back from Nicole's party. And, I have to say, Guerdy might want to go into law herself because she quietly illustrated her points and she did not let up. But I think she had to do that. And it may have come across frustrating at point. I think at first watch, Andy, in my opinion, wanted to go the TV route with this. Meaning, she apologized, let's move on. Okay.
Right. Resolution, cool. Conflict resolution. Right.
Yeah, and granted, we want that, right? But I think it was deeper for Guerdy in the sense that I think that she really thought that she and Julia were friends. Mm-hmm. I think Adriana thought that Julia and she were really, really friends. I think that Julia is playing housewives.
Yes.
And I think that is the big difference here. Playing housewives equals I'm going to throw a drink, I'm going to make a scene, I'm going to do all of these things, we'll apologize and we'll all be okay. That's what she's probably seen. And so that's what she is, in my opinion, acting out.
Right.
And that side of the couch is fully on board with that, particularly because Julia's on their side now, right?
Right.
They have welcomed her into the fold to a certain degree, right?
Right.
And so I think that they're creating a safe space for her, which everybody deserves one, right? I'm not going to come into this saying that Julia is a bad person. She, to me, is just someone that I wouldn't necessarily trust.
Right.
Because I think that she cares more about being a housewife than she does about the actual relationships with the women on the show. And in my opinion, those relationships are actually transactional for her. And
for all of them.
Exactly. Well, exactly. And I think that the mistake that I think Guerdy has made with Julia was thinking, this is my real friend, Adriana. Whether or not their friendship was beneficial to Adriana because she had that backup, now that Julia has, and it always happens, right? We always see these things happen. Mm-hmm. The more transactional person is always going to level up, right? I want to be at the level. I know that this is the group that is safe. You're never going to be safe for me, Adriana. Right. You're never going to be safe for me either, Guerdy, because you two are on the outskirts. Right. And it could be that, for a lot of people, Guerdy has a personality that you will either like or loathe, right? I mean, for me, it works.
That's neither here nor there.
That's neither here nor there in terms of how you are being treated.
Yes.
And to circle back to Guerdy making her points and sticking to her points, she reminded me of Monique in season 5 when everyone's throwing everything else at her, but she had to stick to her points. Because if she didn't stick to her points, Marysol would have derailed her, Larsa would have derailed her, and I was so proud that she quietly stuck to her guns. And no one, Stephanie included, Adriana included, she was not going to be derailed by any of them, even though I felt like Andy at points also tried to derail her. Because I think that he said prematurely, well, do you accept Alexia's apology? That wasn't an apology.
No, it wasn't an apology.
Apology is, as we know it, I'm sorry, I apologize for X, Y, or Z, right?
And really feel that contrition because Alexia was trying to save face. And she's been trying to save face from the moment that she realized that the general public was seeing her in a way that she didn't want to be perceived, know? And even though she did that in the media as well as on the show, you not only see her be okay with it, you see her double down and give her a hard time and really even yell at her after it happened. So it's crazy.
All of that. And I think Andy was trying to give Alexia
Too much grace.
In the group, to a lot of grace in order to simply move on. This isn't really a conversation that we truly want to have. When I think we've seen this happen with Garcelle and Kyle, when you do have the conversation, it flows when two people are willing to have a conversation and they're both open to listening to each other. They can work through it if the parties are willing. And I think that he was just very set on saving them and saving face for them versus allowing the situation to truly just play out in a natural way, in which case maybe Alexia would never have gotten it. And that's
no, she would never have gotten it. I can tell you right now, she would have never gotten it. And I'll tell you another thing. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that I believe that happened with Andy here. And it's this idea, and it ties into something else that happened. Andy wants to go back to a time that that Housewives was fun and it wasn't dark. Yeah. Andy really wants to get past this darkness that has been infiltrating these shows for quite a while. And that, and I've talked to you about why that thing happened with Julia, and I was always very surprised that it was never showed, the banging of the chair. And I have been telling the story for a year and a half, but they never showed it.
You did tell me that.
Yes. And even I didn't remember how dramatic it was. And if you look at the footage, it's addressed towards Marysol and she's gesturing at me. And we were all shocked. This was something that I said to Marysol that triggered Julia. And as I told you, I can't get into it because it's not my story to tell, but it was told there. And I actually was grateful that it never aired that way. But to put that on there, now it's convenient for them to show that, because now they want to show that Julia's water thing was not an isolated incident, that Julia's crazy. Because I think that they're trying to get rid of Julia. I also think they're trying to get rid of Guerdy.
Oh, I think they're trying to get rid of both of them. I felt based on Andy's reactions to both of them, and based on the fact that, well, I'll start there. Yeah. I felt like, okay, Guerdy's in danger. I got it. It's clear now. And I think that the moment she didn't immediately accept Julia's apology was the moment that sealed her fate, because we've seen that happen with Dorinda. We saw it with Dorinda and not backing down with the Tinsley thing. She wasn't backing down. They let her go. Convenient, right? Julia, on the other hand, the moment I felt like I knew, I mean, also now that you said that, it makes so much sense that they showed that. I felt like the moment that they started with Julia and Adriana, Andy asked Adriana a question. Julia is piping in, ready to spill this tea. And I said, oh, you came to the reunion knowing you were going to say this. Right. You knew that you were going to say it. You knew that you were going to tell this tale or whatever it was. You knew that you were going to say it, and you are doing any and everything to keep your job. But I don't think she realized how much that, in my opinion, backfired on her, because it makes her look even more unhinged. Not to mention there's so much to that just bothers him to me. But the biggest thing is, I always think that that's a violation of the other person's privacy. Yeah, right. You want to talk about things that you do, fine. But when you enter an intimate situation, whether they did it or they did not, right? Right. It's neither here nor there. It is, but in terms of you don't out someone else. What was the reason? Right. To get another season, and we don't even know that it's true. We're going to take it as fact. And how many people did she hurt in that process? She hurt her daughters. She hurt Martina. It is such a desperate move. I found it disgusting. Disgusting. I agree. 100%. 100%. And I just, now as I watched it back again, right? Because I wanted to watch it again before we had our conversation. It really makes me feel like she is a very dangerous person, because the way she would sit there and act so contrite and so, it was just the performance of it all, even as she's apologizing to Guerdy. And I'm like, it's for you to be seemingly so sincere, and then 2 seconds later, so sincerely telling Andy, well, I can tell you what the problem is with Adriana and I. We slept together. That's it. Like, oh, girl, really?
Yeah.
Like, it was honestly gross to me. And I felt like, as you stated, I felt like it was such a violation to so many people. And it was like, this is an example of something that I hate, that I will burn my own house down to burn yours down.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't even care anymore. Like, this staying on this platform is more important to me than anything else in my life. That's what it felt like in that moment.
It really is. And I really think that at that moment, even though people thought and people fell off their chair and it was so shocking and everything else, she sealed her fate. She put the last nail in her coffin. It didn't save her next season. I think it convinced everybody that there's no reason for her to come back whatsoever. I am, however, worried about Guerdy, because I think it would be such an injustice to get rid of Guerdy when Guerdy has given us so much, has shown us such a powerful, brave journey, and that these people would turn their back on her and just say, like, okay, yeah, you had cancer, but you're over. Can you imagine, God forbid, Alexia had cancer or one of these people? It would be everything. Like the first person to ever go through this. And this sweeping under the carpet and just icing her out. This is why they're calling Marysol the Lisa Rinna of Real Houses of Miami. She manipulates, she pulls the strings. We are told, and I have found out since that she had a conversation with certain parties as to how this was all going to happen, because she fancies herself a Real Housewife expert. So she went to Stephanie and decided, hey, let's not come so hard towards each other. This I know for a fact, okay? This is not me just thinking. Stephanie was very calm and very quiet. We are going to see in future episodes her get a little heated with Alexia, but not as much as you would expect. Why? Because they had an agreement. This is not why we watch these shows. This is supposed to be unscripted. This is supposed to be what happens naturally. We want to see human reactions that are authentic. Once Marysol gets in the picture and starts trying to really, script the whole thing, then it becomes, White Lotus, and we don't want that. I just felt that the whole thing was, and I think it's taken a minute for people to digest this, because this morning, what I've seen on Twitter and Instagram from the microaggressions, from what they did to Guerdy is unforgivable, to Anna has been vindicated. She said she didn't stay quiet there. She said these scenes happened, that they cut him out. And it was like, I feel good about that because, they all say they don't lie. They all lie. I don't lie. I have no reason to lie. I'm not on the show. I say things that other people wouldn't say. I started this out saying that I have, by all accounts, actually said things that may be considered racist. Not a lot of people will admit that, but I do, because I'm human and I always try to get better. I always try to learn. But man, I make mistakes, so many mistakes. And these women don't learn, and I think they need to be held accountable. And I think Guerdy deserves an opportunity to, I would just, if you heard tomorrow that she's not coming back, how would that make you feel?
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. And I almost posted this when I saw one of the clips. I was like, oh, this show is just not a safe space for her. But I honestly, I was like, no, I'll save it for this because I feel like it would be better served here in this conversation. But I don't feel like it's a safe space for her as it stands now. And whether that could be for a variety of reasons that I'm not privy to. But on the surface, I can tell you that it just looks like she just, for whatever reason, doesn't fit in with this group. If she had a friend there, like maybe Dr. Nicole, I think that this would be a bit more balanced for her. But as it stands now, what I realize is Adriana is too far on the outs that I feel like she might be gone next season. I feel like, obviously Marysol, I feel like doesn't want her there. I feel like you can sense that Marysol, Larsa, and Alexia and Stephanie don't want Guerdy there. I don't know why Stephanie has an opinion on anything dealing with Guerdy because she hasn't been there long enough to know any of this. And I think that Kiki, and I'll probably get some flack for this, but I feel like Kiki is very much like, I'm just happy to be here.
But that is a fact.
Whatever the girls here are saying, I'm going to kind of roll with it because it makes the most sense for me in the long run. And listen, I get it. We got to work, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know that I would be as interested in watching because I don't like when stuff like this happens because I just feel like I've lived in Miami. Mm-hmm. There's everybody, every type of culture there. What we're seeing now in my mind, it does not make sense.
Right.
For 2025. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. You're
because, and you look at a show like this, in my opinion, franchise could have been the Salt Lake City, for Bravo. In terms of the laughs, and granted, they've had their moments too, right? But they've been able to recover.
They have.
If these women can recover, then okay, I'm cool, right? Bring everybody back. I would love to see how it works out. But for me, I don't need to see Julia back. I think that she's got some other things that she needs to just focus on. And I just don't think this show is a good fit for what she has. Like, I don't think her brand of Housewives is what we want to see.
Right. We don't. And seeing some of her reactions, which I think she needs to have a real conversation with herself as she goes about raising two black little boys. Because I have spoken to a lot of black moms who feel like when there's, we all worry when my girls were in high school, they would go out and you would worry, oh my God, the car, the drinking, the people.
Yep.
A black mom or the mother of black children have to worry about something entirely different, which was another shocking thing to me to learn. That's how much of an idiot I am. She has two black sons. She needs to spend this time not on a reality show outing people for intimate things that bear nothing on the entire. It's like it was superfluous. It was just like, just to give us something. No, focus on learning. Okay. And what bothered me about this particular episode was that it didn't look like anyone learned anything from this.
Nope.
And that is the problem. Like I tell you, I realized my things and I've learned and I'm always learning. The fact that they kept saying, you felt violated, but so did she, and so did she, and so did she. You're an idiot.
Annoyed me. And it kind of was very Marysol coded in terms of, and I don't know, listen, I don't know. I'm just going off what Adriana has said, who comes across to me a bit more believable. And now it's so much about what you said about how she felt after the reunion makes so much more sense now that we've seen this play out. But something that Adriana said, I don't know if it was in the after show, but after when Marysol made it seem like she told her, use the word wretched instead of what you said. And the way Adriana described how Marysol did that, I believe Adriana.
Oh my God! Everybody believes Adriana.
I believe Adriana, and
the instances of manipulation and trying to script this show have been happening since season 2. with me, you know, and everybody. She's done that to everybody. Alexia has become her, what do you call it? She's like a ventriloquist. And she's got Alexia right here, and she's doing this. I've said it before, and I've said it again. I didn't like the Alexia that I saw in this episode. I was starting to warm up to Alexia again, because I blame Marysol for who Alexia has become. But I don't know what happened here. I did not like what I saw at all. I think she needs to go deep inside and take a look into what's in her heart. All of them do. Because all I can tell you, and I can't be more eloquent than this, it was fucked up. That episode, that part one of the reunion was fucked up on every level. So,
I agree. And that's why I feel like in my mind, it was like, it seemed like the plan was to, well, let's divert attention away from what happened here in this season to things that have happened in previous seasons.
Right.
And that worked for them in that moment until it didn't work when Guerdy has to go back. Okay, so, well, let's go back seasons since we want to talk about what's happened in previous seasons. Let's talk about when Julia nearly broke the chair. Let's talk about it. So it's kind of like, let's deflect. Okay, so we'll deflect more. How about that? And it doesn't work out for the person that you guys are trying to protect, because I just felt like, you know, Larsa chiming in saying, well, what do you want to do? Bully her? No, Guerdy wants to get down to the point and have a real conversation. And I think that was something that was never that was never going to happen there.
It was never going to happen.
It was never going to happen there.
And it almost seemed like it was going over their heads. It
was completely over their heads. And I
don't think it was over Andy's head. I just think Andy has been told by the network, keep it light. Keep it light.
Keep it light.
Right. But I think that if these shows are going to mirror real life because they are reality, then I think it's a disservice to the audience to not address these real issues that we're dealing with, because it is 2025 and it is a time to self-reflect and realize that things that have happened before are not okay now, that we can't sweep that under the rug. And I know it makes it tougher for him as kind of a mediator to take a stand. You know, it's very hard for him. But I think he's up to the I think he's capable. Andy's a very smart man. I don't think he was oblivious to what was really going on there. I think he's just been told, make it light, keep it light, you know? But that's not right either.
I think that the thing that was so interesting to me was that Guerdy never raised her voice.
Never.
She never once raised her voice. She has been speaking generally at an even tone.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that also frustrated me with Kiki was that, yeah, you knew exactly what that looked like in that moment. Like, you're telling your friend to leave, and I get it to a certain degree. You may think that this is a fight she's not going to win, right? But I think in that moment, it's like, don't try to
silence her.
Don't try to silence me.
Yeah.
And I'm not speaking loud.
Right.
You know, exactly. I'm not the aggressive person here. Like, it's painting her to look a certain type of way when she is not the one who is throwing the water. She is the one who is defending herself. It's like Kiki knows that. In my mind, Kiki knows that.
But Kiki doesn't care. Kiki's a very superficial person. That's how I see her. I have always seen her like that, and I think she proved it. I think that Guerdy was so quiet because the pain of what she's endured is so profound that screaming or crying about it is not enough. You understand? It's too deep. It cut really deep. And that was palpable to me. And that's why I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I'd love to hear our listeners, you know, really let us know what they think. You know, our listeners are very kind of active on YouTube. And when this posts on YouTube, I think we're going to see how people really feel. And I want to give them a space where this is okay to talk about.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, which your life experience has been different from mine, and I recognize that, and you recognize that, and so I'm really glad that you took the time to have this conversation with me. It's difficult for me. I don't feel that I have a right to have this conversation, if you understand what I mean. I'm not equipped, to understand the plight of somebody that's had to live with all this stuff, but it needed to be discussed. And thank you so much for taking the time and for understanding that for teaching me as much as you have over the years. I really appreciate you for that, because I believe I'm a better person because of it, and I'm still learning and still working on it.
Listen, number one, I'm always here. I ain't going nowhere. But I also want to say this too, and just for listeners, there have been times when things have been discussed, even on my channel as well. I don't always feel like I'm equipped, because I'm sometimes talking about Black women, right? I'm not a woman. I'm talking about women in general, and I'm not a woman. But I think I try to come at this from a place of empathy, and a place of everybody doesn't always get it. And if they're open, they can get it. And if they're not open, maybe they will get it later, right? We can just simply have the conversations, open ourselves up to it, and hopefully with repeated exposure, people will ultimately start to say, okay, let me just put myself in that person's shoes. And then we all benefit from that.
Right. Yeah. Well, Richie, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. I know you're busy, and, to discuss this, I think it was necessary. And, let's see what we see in the next, 2 parts of this, and see if anybody redeems themselves. But as of right now, I'm disappointed in a lot of these ladies. I really am.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, thank you so much. I love you, and I
love you too.
appreciate you. And we'll see you soon.